Friends, I know how much you love translations of Neville Goddard's live lectures. That's why I'm delighted to present a new translation of one of his most inspiring lectures, Ignore Reality. Today you will hear a teaching that can transform your entire view of life. You will discover that everything you considered impossible already exists, even if your current perception suggests otherwise. Neville explains very clearly that what we have grown accustomed to believing through our physical senses, what we can touch, hear, measure, is our greatest self-deception. You will learn why your senses are neither enemies nor masters. You will discover how to transcend them in order to see the truth that has always been right beside you. You will understand how to make the invisible real, how to turn a dream into a fact, and how to become someone who creates miracles rather than waiting for them. Prepare yourself. Perhaps today, for the first time, you will truly realize that you are not merely an observer of this life. You are its source. Good evening, my dear friends. Look at me for a moment. What do you see? You see a person of flesh and blood speaking words that your ears hear. Your senses tell you this is real, undeniable. This is truth. But tonight, I will prove to you that your senses, these 5 faithful servants that have guided you through life, are the greatest deceivers you have ever encountered. And, more importantly, I will teach you how to outwit them, how to believe in the invisible, and how to make the invisible world more real than the visible one. Before you decide I've gone mad, let me ask you something. Who here has ever been in love? Raise your hands. Don't be shy. Look around. Almost every hand is up. Now tell me, can you touch love? Weigh it. Place it under a microscope and analyze it. No. Yet falling in love is perhaps the most real experience of your life. It changed everything. How you felt, how you thought, how you moved through the world. In that moment, something completely invisible and intangible transformed your entire reality. That is your first lesson. The most powerful forces in your life are invisible to the senses. The senses are wonderful servants, but terrible masters. They can tell you the temperature of an object, whether it is rough or smooth, what color it is, but they cannot reveal what is truly possible for you. They cannot comprehend the infinite field of consciousness from which everything manifested arises. Consider this. Right now, you are surrounded by thousands of radio waves and signals. They pass through your body, through this room, through everything around you. Your sensory organs detect none of it. To your physical perception, they do not exist. Yet, turn on a radio and you hear music traveling hundreds of miles. Turn on a television and you see moving images transmitted through the very air you breathe. What changed? Nothing. The waves were always there. The information was always present. You simply tuned in with the right instrument. Consciousness is your radio receiver. Imagination is the tuning dial. The invisible world of infinite possibilities is the broadcast that is always transmitting, waiting for you to tune in. So what is the problem? Most people allow their physical senses to be the sole judge of what is real. They look at their bank account and say, I am poor. They look in the mirror and say, I am old. They look at their circumstances and say, this is my reality. Nothing can change it. Thus people become prisoners of their own perception. I remember a woman who came to me with tears in her eyes. Mr. Goddard, I want to believe what you teach, but I cannot ignore what I see. My husband left me, my savings are gone, I'm about to lose my home. How can I believe in anything else? I told her, Dear, you speak of reality as if what you see is eternal, and what you can imagine is mere fantasy. But it is the exact opposite. What you see is temporary, the echoes of yesterday's imagined actions. What you can imagine is eternal, your tomorrow's reality awaiting birth. The senses are like historians. They report only what has already happened, what is already crystallized. Imagination is like a prophet. It sees what is coming, what seeks to manifest. So, how do you outwit the senses that have held you captive for so long? The secret is simple. Make the invisible more vivid, more real, more tangible to yourself than what your eyes see. A young man who attended my lectures in Los Angeles was an aspiring musician barely making ends meet. His senses reminded him daily of his limitations: a tiny apartment, an almost empty bank account, infrequent gigs. But he understood something profound. His current circumstances were not his destiny. They were merely the manifestation of past imagined actions. Every night before sleep, he would conduct an imaginary orchestra in a grand concert hall. He felt the weight of the baton in his hand, heard the applause of thousands, smelled the flowers thrown onto the stage, experienced the thrill of a standing ovation. In physical reality, he lay alone in a run-down apartment, but in imagination, he lived the life of a celebrated conductor, and that imagined reality became the dominant one for him. He made it so vivid and emotionally compelling that his senses began to doubt their own testimony. Within 2 years, a chain of seemingly miraculous connections led him to become assistant conductor of a major symphony orchestra. Within 5 years, he was conducting orchestras around the world. His senses were forced to submit to what imagination had already realized. When you first begin practicing faith in the invisible, your senses will resist. They will present evidence. Nothing has changed. You're still in the same situation. That is the test. Most people fail here, allowing the senses to convince them that their imagined actions are mere daydreams. But remember, the senses can perceive only what has already been created. They cannot perceive what is in the process of creation. In my youth on Barbados, I passionately desired to go to New York to study mysticism. My senses convincingly proved it impossible. No money, no connections, no formal education. Every morning and evening I woke and slept on Barbados, an undeniable fact. But I refused to let the senses rule me. Every night I imagined myself in New York, skyscrapers, different air, the sounds of a big city, the feeling of being exactly where I belonged. Night after night, the invisible reality grew brighter than my visible circumstances. Sometimes I would wake in surprise, finding myself still on Barbados. The imagined New York had become more real than the actual island. My family thought I was losing touch with reality, but I already knew. Imagination is the creative power of the universe. Whatever you realize in imagination must become fact. Within months, unforeseen opportunities appeared. A stranger offered to help me move. Doors opened that had been closed. The invisible reality became my visible experience. Here is a practical technique to begin. Tonight, as you go to bed, choose the desired end state, what you want to be or have. Do not imagine the process, dwell directly in the finished state. Instead of imagining searching for a better job, imagine already having it. Feel the satisfaction, hear colleagues congratulating you, smell the coffee in your beautiful new office. Instead of imagining searching for love, imagine already being loved. Feel the warmth, hear tender words, feel the certainty that you are cherished. The key is detail. The senses are convinced by specifics. Feel the weight of the keys to your new office, the softness of the carpet underfoot, the view from the window, the joy of achievement. Feel the scent of a new leather wallet, the security when money is no longer an issue, the joy of helping others freely. When you persistently live in the invisible world, you develop what I call spiritual senses. You begin to feel the reality of your desires before they manifest. You sense the movement of consciousness, the invisible bridges connecting your current state to the desired one. A businessman once asked me, "How do I know I'm truly changing reality and not just fantasizing?" I replied, "When you truly live in the invisible reality, you will know because a quiet certainty arises that needs no external proof. You naturally act from the new state without forcing or pretending." A single mother working 2 jobs imagined herself in abundance every evening, not dreaming of a lottery win or a rich husband, but simply living in the awareness of plenty. She felt financial security in her body, the ease of shopping without checking prices, the peace of knowing her children's needs were easily met. At first, her senses rebelled fiercely. Look at your bank account. Look at the bills. Look at your tiny apartment. But she persisted. Soon she began behaving differently, speaking confidently, making decisions from abundance rather than lack. Within 6 months, she received an unexpected promotion. Within a year, she started a small business that grew rapidly. Within 2 years, she lived in full financial freedom. By the time it manifested, the changes felt natural, not miraculous. Many ask, isn't this self-deception, ignoring what the senses report? No. When a scientist sees bacteria through a microscope, or an astronomer sees galaxies through a telescope, is